Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. But for a radio audience tuning in at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all can be with us. Also, tuning in through iHeartRadio and Amazon Music. We're glad you all could be with us as well. This is part of our News You Can Use segment here at WYAD. And today we're shedding light on a rare disease known as acromegaly, a condition in which the body produces too much growth hormone, causing body tissues and bones to grow more quickly, which can lead to serious health problems. Here to share some more information on this disease and treatment options, we're excited to welcome Becky Bierman, who currently is living with acromegaly, and we also have Dr. Anthony Heaney, who treats people living with the disease. Thanks to the two of you for the time today. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. We're happy to be partnering with KSE Global Rare Diseases on this important topic.
Dr. Heaney, I want to kick things off with you. Can you tell us more exactly about what acromegaly is?
Sure. So the first thing to point out is that acromegaly, it's a rare condition. It affects only about 25,000 people living in the United States. It's caused by a benign tumor in the pituitary gland, which is a tiny gland just located underneath the brain. The problem is that this benign tumor makes too much growth hormone, and this causes various issues, symptoms such as headache and fatigue, but also causes increased growth of the hands and the feet, in fact, all parts of the body. And if not treated, it can cause elevated blood sugar, as in diabetes, elevated blood pressure, and occasionally life-threatening damage to the heart. The good news is that there are some very good treatments that we have for this condition that can prevent all those terrible things occurring.
And that's why we're so glad, Dr. Heaney, to be able to have you here to talk to us about it. Becky, thank you for being with us as well. As I mentioned, you are living with acromegaly. Let our audience know what it's been like for you, what your experience has been like with the disease.
Well, thank you. And yes, if you were to ask me how I felt while living with acromegaly before I was diagnosed and treated, I would say awful. I had really bad headaches. There were nights I would just go to bed because my head hurt so bad. I also sweated a lot. I had achy joints. And I had these kind of symptoms for over 9 years before being diagnosed at the age of 50. I was at a regular doctor's appointment, and I was telling him I was feeling like I was getting old so fast, and that I was really frustrated with the amount of money I was spending resizing my rings. And at that point, he stopped me and says, "You're doing what? What about your shoe size?" And that little short conversation was enough for him to run the test and find out that I truly had acromegaly.
That's amazing. So I want to ask you, Dr. Heaney, with that in mind, with what Becky just mentioned about her situation, if someone is living with acromegaly or experiencing similar symptoms as she was, what options are available to them?
Well, I think if you're having some of those symptoms, you want to have a conversation with your doctor about that and try and work with them to see if this is what you have. We need to bear in mind that there are many causes of headaches and the other symptoms. But if it turns out you have acromegaly due to this benign tumor, in most cases we start with surgery to try and remove as much of the tumor as possible. Unfortunately, because it's very difficult to get all the tumor out, about half of folks will still have elevated growth hormone, unfortunately, after the surgery. And in that case, we typically will use a medical treatment. And until a few years ago, one of the most effective medications that we had to be given as a monthly injection, which was very unpleasant to say the least. But in 2020, a new version of these drugs, oral octreotide, also known as Mycapssa, became available. And this capsule can be taken twice a day by mouth. And again, I would say that if you have acromegaly, you really want to have a conversation with your doctors, your treatment team, and figure out what the best treatment is for you specifically.
Becky, to you then, Dr. Heaney just mentioned Mycapssa. Is that something that you've had an experience with as a treatment option?
Yes, I've actually been on Mycapssa now for 3 years, and it has been very helpful in controlling and managing my acromegaly. My life, including work, family time, and vacations, all had to be scheduled around my treatment. But with my CAPSA, I'm able to be in more control of my life. I take it on an empty stomach in the morning, repeat it again in the evening around my meals and bedtime, and I'm just glad that I have found a medication that fits my lifestyle. Of course, this is my experience. Every person out there is different, but I'm really glad I have something now that I can just take and go on with my life. Life with acromegaly isn't easy, but I'm very thankful for my faith that gives me comfort as well as the emotional strength to share my story, because I do hope it encourages others to reach out, ask questions, and advocate for themselves. Acromegaly Awareness Day is November 1st, so be sure to visit mycapsa.com to learn more.
And we definitely want to remind our audience of that. We're going to make sure that we link that up for our audience on the radio side, on our Facebook page, as well as for the podcast audience as well. Dr. Heaney, a question just came to me based on what Becky shared. And again, Becky, I really appreciate you sharing your experience. She mentioned how long she had been living with acromegaly before she was actually diagnosed. Is misdiagnosis something that happens a lot with this because it is so rare?
Yeah, absolutely. It's rare, and also it evolves very slowly. So this sort of typical insidious onset that we see, where even family members don't really notice the changes that are occurring. So not infrequently, I will meet patients who, over many years, they've had several changes in their shoe size. They haven't really thought that it was odd that their rings were getting tighter, or they were having to go frequently to the dentist to have their teeth adjusted. So these various sort of creep in signs that occur over time can make it very difficult for the diagnosis to be made. And that's really part of the reason we want to have these conversations, just to try and increase the awareness of this rare condition.
All right. Dr. Anthony Heaney has been our guest, as well as Becky Bierman, talking with us about acromegaly, letting us know exactly what it is, but also, of course, the treatment option that's available. You heard Becky mention through my CAPSA. We're going to make sure that we link that up for our audience as well. Dr. Heaney and Becky, thank you so much again for the time. Really do appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cyrus.
And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live, part of a Music and Youth segment here at WYAD. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Let's go make today amazing. Take care.